it's bass heavy music, but Mallet, I think it is, from Digital Mystics, one of the two guys who produced the Digital Mystics, put it like it's music. When you listen to it in a club, it doesn't force you to dance; it just invites you. Do you know what I mean? And I think that sums it up really well. You can get down, you can throw a shape to it, but you don't have to. You can just stand and appreciate the vibe if you want. So it's I guess that sums it up for me.
Bass heavy, bass does a lot of the work. You can, a lot of tunes, they don't have a lot going on drum and rhythm wise because the bass, you got this LFO, whooping bass going whoop, 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 and that kind of, big system that, it's just carries you along. Basically, that's the sort of defining element of it, and the tempo about 140 BPM.
I describe the whole sound itself. Well, there's a lot of controversy about what is actually dubstep and that. Like, if you talk to Pinch or the people involved in South London, they're all like, it's that kind of half-step, spaced out, huge bass lines, all that sort of thing.
Bass-driven, dub-influenced mutation of garage, really.
It's so fresh at the moment. I mean, I've been sort of following it for maybe a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, something like that, and it's already grown so much from sort of garage beginnings into a vast spectrum of people doing different things. Like, some people write with this techno vibe or a drum and bass vibe, or all sorts of different flavours.
It's all about drawing the angles, drawing different angles from different kinds of music. You know what I mean? Like jungle, old school garage, like breakbeat, drum and bass, whatever you have.
Everything,
you know what I
techno.
mean? Bring it all in, put it in there, see what happens. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about.
You can just kind of sink into the bass. You can stand there and you can nod to it.
It's a cliche already, but you don't really get it until you have at least heard it once on a big sound system with a lot of bass.
It's like eating good food. So you feel it in your belly.
Can't not like us. It's like being inside the womb.
Exactly. I like that. I like that. I think it's just an easy vibe and it's chilled, and there's lots of different styles within dubstep. So it's quite open for a lot of people to get into it. Really.
Sort of taking elements of drum and bass, sort of the bass and the breaks and the production values, sort of mixed in with what was, or the grime sort of UK garage scene.
There was like an intelligent sort of grime, and that's what basically dubstep has come from. And it's obviously got more like dubby elements now. Like, it's nice now, man. It's perfect.
Yeah. No mucking about. Yeah. It's just about some.
It's a physical sound. You feel the bass. You really do feel the bass weight.
Once you go to one night, you hear it on a big system, then you want to hear more.
I play grime, but I actually prefer raving to dubstep. That's straight. Serious is big, man.
You don't hear this music on the telly, you don't hear it on the radio, you don't hear it hammered on adverts, and because of that, it sounds different, it sounds special, it sounds fresh.
It's a little bit slower, the rhythms are all different, you can do more interesting things when you're mixing it, There's so many different styles and different options when you pick up a record that you can do a lot more in the mix rather than just lay down another tune,
The special technique of shadowboxing.
when I first started getting into dubstep, which was probably around 2.5 years ago or something, it just wasn't out of London. It was all just the London sound, and even to get records was a nightmare. You know, like I don't know, a couple of places on the internet doing like Black Market and that, but just nowhere else. And then Rooted started doing records and that.
We've been stocking bits and bobs of it, but it's only been in the last couple of years that it's really seeped into the Bristol underground scene. Mainly due to DJ Pinch, who's been pushing it relentlessly through his context nights and his subloaded and now his dub-loaded nights as well.
The first night was a night called Context, which I did, and it was a mixed music policy. We had kind of dub and electronica to start the evening off with, and then sort of dubstep sets, and then jungle at the end. As the months progressed, everything else kind of filtered out a little bit, and it was pretty much all dubstep and then a little bit of jungle at the end. Then by the end of that year, I teamed up with a guy called Blazy, and we started a night called Subloaded. We did the first one at the Thekla.
I seen a flyer in Miss Millie's about, say, 3 years ago, and it was like Context night, which Pinch was doing, and I met up with Pinch down there, and then things just rolled on from there, and then we like created Subloaded together. So
again, that was initiated just out of a lack of it being here already, and just wanting to kind of have something going and build a scene here.
Yeah, from there he's just been packing out. He's doing Dub-Loaded at the Croft, and it's just rammed. Every week sells out, like people queuing around the corner and stuff. Subloaded is massive. It's just all getting really big now.
Basically, he's probably the brains behind everything. Like, but I do my little bits here and there. You get me? Like, I made the name up and everything like that. So I remember.
These small nights kicking off and everything, and so they're getting bigger and bigger, and it just reminds me when like Roughneck Ting and Full Cycle were doing their things on the regulars, and yeah, with Dub-Loaded and all that lot, I don't know, it just kind of appeals to the Bristol sound really.
Bristol's got a history of kind of sound system culture, and reggae culture's a big thing over here, so you know, it almost seems like a logical step for dubstep to infiltrate the Bristol sounds.
Bristol has always been like kind of open-minded when it comes to music, and like drum and bass has been running things here for years and years and years. So I think maybe people might be trying to find an alternative to that, and they're coming to these raves and they're hearing the music, and it's just like it's hard not to like it.
So many drum and bass nights in Bristol, and so many dry hip-hop nights, and it's really interesting to see a scene where people are really excited about something new.
So many DJs coming out, everything. Bristol's gonna hit hard.
Do you know what? Bristol is like the second home of dubstep right about now, yeah? Everyone Leeds bubbling, but Bristol is pumping. Old type Pinch, Shrub, because he's pushing it hard down there, yeah?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazingly strong, and I think most of us who like it and contribute to the scene are very proud of the fact that Bristol is the second city, is dubstep's second city. But I think you've got to give much love to Pinch and Dickon, because essentially they're the foundation for it here.
Pinch runs things in Bristol. Like I think it was basically him and Dickon who brought dubstep and breakstep and broken beat to Bristol.
It's all Rob's fault, you know. It's all Pinch. I took him up to his first Forward in London, which is like the sort of leading dubstep, or the only dubstep night at the time, and he came back and has just been an absolute convert ever since. He's put enormous amounts of like time and money into, you know, pushing the scene forward basically, and Bristol's the second city in the whole world for dubstep. It's undeniable, you know, we've got more parties than anywhere at the moment, so it's almost all down to him and a couple of others like me, I guess.
You know, no one else was really doing it outside of London. There was no one doing it in Bristol. To be honest, if Forward had been in Bristol, I'd have just been happy going along to the nights and just kind of just being a regular punter and enjoying it. I mean, it was literally just motivated by a desire to hear more of it and become involved with it.
Very accessible in Bristol.
Very accessible. We've got Pinch doing his thing with Tectonic, and I quite like it. Like, I wish they'd introduce a little bit more of the old elbow shaking stuff.
Yeah.
Bit of the old, bit of a DJ Luck and MC Neat wouldn't go down. You know what I mean? That's what I want to see.
I love Bristol. Bristol's wicked. We've been there a couple times, innit, man? A few times before, like last year, the year before. I don't know, a few times. I love the vibe in Bristol. Bristol's wicked.
I think Bristol's like probably the best place in the UK for dubstep, mate.
Bristol and London have got a lot of similarities when it comes to the kind of things that work there, and you know,